Hey, everybody out there in podcast land. Welcome to the latest edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
We are taping here on the 13th of October, 2021. This will hit late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Of course, now that football season is in full swing, we are sticking to our format. NFL, NCAA, baseball, NASCAR. Hockey is now entered into the mix.
Yes, kicked off last night on the 12th.
So we'll talk about that in the last segment. But of course, we start off with pro football. Our first love. In the back seat with pro football. Trying to get to second base. Mixing my sports metaphors. Help me out here, buddy.
Football is the sport that launched Sports Frenzy back in the day on cable access.
That is true. That is the one that we always look forward to. And we spent most of our time doing our football picks. We did not have the Field of Frenzy, the baseball picks back then.
No.
We did talk NASCAR.
We did. We
No
talked
fantasy.
Other sports, but it started to talk football.
That is correct. So that's why, first and foremost, the NFL will be front and center here on Sports Frenzy. And unfortunately, this has been a very rough week for the NFL.
Tumultuous, to say the least.
But we'll save the controversies for later. Let's talk about what's happening on the field. So a very interesting week.
Yes, it was. Wow.
You and I were talking just before we started taping about the Monday night game, the last game of week 5, with the great comeback with the Ravens against the Colts. The Colts looked like they were actually going to get back in the mix.
Yeah.
Straighten everything out, get the ship righted.
And they had an epic defensive collapse. Lamar Jackson took over in that second half and showed why he's as dynamic as he is.
Yes, and he is. We're going to talk about MVP candidates here because I think right now we're almost at that quarter pole. With 17 games, you can't quite say 4 games, so 5 games in. But we'll talk about the MVP candidates right now, and Lamar Jackson is definitely at the top 2 or 3 at least.
Yeah, for sure.
He has impressed me beyond belief, and I am a skeptic. I'm a skeptic in terms of will he be able to stay healthy, but he is playing unbelievable football this year.
Yeah, he's, 4th year in the system? And he's shown he's durable. He's now showing he can run that offense. He's showing he's got a nice touch on the deep passes. He's becoming the all-around quarterback we questioned his ability to be.
Right. Because last year was a down year for him in the COVID year.
And it was a down year for almost everyone.
And you've got to remember this year, here's the thing that I have not heard anybody mention this year. Lost his first running back. Lost his second running back.
And that was in preseason or before preseason.
Right. So he is dealing with a hodgepodge mess in the backfield. So he's expected to not only pass, but to run.
Yeah. He is doing it all and doing it well.
Yeah, and run more than he normally does. Finally got tight end Mark Andrews involved in the mix. Big game for Andrews on Monday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Colts, I feel bad for him. I like Frank Reich as a head coach. And Wentz actually played a really good game. He had 1 fumble, but otherwise he did not turn the ball over. He threw for 400 yards.
Yeah, it was probably one of Wentz's best games in a long time, which unfortunately the defense let him down.
Right. Right, like you said, it was an epic defensive collapse. We've seen this a lot this year. We've seen it with the Buccaneers, where you just watch the game, you listen to the commentators, and they just start rattling off, this cornerback's out, that cornerback's out, this safety's out.
See, that's the thing. The Colts lost a couple guys to concussions.
They're probably
secondary.
Arguably right.
They're a corner and a safety they lost to concussions.
Right. Yeah.
So right there, they were able to be picked apart.
Right. And I have seen that, like I said, a lot already this year. And you and I talked about this texting back and forth Sunday during the games. I just think, I know it's said every year, this just seems like a year where injuries are already piling up at an astronomical rate through week 5.
Yeah, it's a lot earlier than it should be for a lot of these injuries for guys. And we talked about it. Is it because they don't practice? Guys don't show up. They're not in game shape. So hamstrings, ankles, knees, the muscles and joints, they don't have them set for games. They're not prepared where you could get through some of that stuff if you actually hit in practice, if you actually took the preseason game semi-seriously, you would be ready a little bit more than you are now.
Right. You're going to get
you can only do so much working out and practicing. It's not the same as actual game situations where you're really practices. You're not doing that much. Games there, you're going full bore and you're not used to it.
Right. And you're always going to get the guys who are getting rolled up, especially offensive, defensive linemen. You know, you're going to get the ACL strains and tears and the ankle injuries when they get somebody blocked into them from behind. I get that. But you're just seeing a lot of guys.
Your skill guys who are getting hurt, getting rolled up, stepped on. A lot of that is lack of practice. The timing's not there. And the stupid ass trick plays that everybody wants to implement consistently.
Right.
That's a problem. Yeah, every so often is fine, but you're seeing more and more, and those are resulting in stupid injuries.
So this week, the big names on the injury report include Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley of the Giants, both going out in the first half of last week's game. Of course, screwing me completely on my fantasy team was Russell Wilson and the mangled middle finger on his throwing hand, which had to be operated on. So he's out 4 to 6 weeks.
Crazy.
Juju Smith-Schuster done for the year with a shoulder injury.
Yep.
Which actually would help Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson. Now they don't have to worry about 3 guys splitting catches.
Yeah. And then you had Tyreek Hill tweaking his knee Sunday. Low production.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Helaire is done
on the IR now for at least 3-4 weeks, right?
So it's just piling up. And then you get the goofy plays like Joe Burrow taking a shot to the throat, having a contusion, and now he can't speak. He had trouble breathing with the swelling in there, had to go to the hospital for evaluation.
Right, so I don't know what's going on. This is just nutsy, crazy stuff. And I am not going to buy into every year, people go, oh, this is the greatest season ever. This is not a great season right now. This is not a great season. I literally look at the standings right now, and I could pretty much say after 5 weeks who's going to be in the playoffs, and I think I'd be 95% right.
Yeah.
Bills, Titans. Titans are going to somehow back in and win that train wreck that is the AFC South. They're probably going to win. They're going to go 8-9, 9-8, and win that. You're going to get the Ravens and the Browns probably out of the North. And I still think the Chiefs are going to sneak in with the Chargers in the West.
Yeah, the Chiefs.
The Broncos, the Raiders are done. We'll talk about that later.
They're hosed.
The Broncos have been overachieving. I don't think they can.
They're not going to be able to sustain.
Right.
But the Chiefs have got to fix their turnover issues.
And their defense. Their defense is terrible. Their defense is abysmal.
Yeah, I haven't seen a defense drop off a cliff in a year.
And you were talking about Joe Burrow. If he can stay healthy, they would be the team that could sneak in ahead of the Chiefs and knock the Chiefs out. Because I think the Chargers right now win that division.
Oh, the Chargers have that one.
Justin Herbert is the man. He is a star. Don't get mad at me. Miami should have drafted him.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that.
Miami should have drafted him.
I questioned the
But again, you never know. You never know You never know if they have a different quarterback coach, a different head coach, a different offensive
How could
system.
things be developed?
Right.
Yeah.
Look at the Bears. Look how many quarterbacks we've destroyed who could have been probably good somewhere else.
Yeah.
And vice versa. Other teams have destroyed quarterbacks.
Miami has been destroying quarterbacks since Marino retired.
They should put that on a billboard. Destroying quarterbacks since 1992 or whenever.
Whenever it was. Yeah.
All right, so
absolutely horrible.
We mentioned the Russell Wilson injury. That was Thursday night, the 7th. The Rams impressively beat the Seahawks. So now the Rams are in charge of the NFC West.
Yes.
Seahawks are probably done because, boy, I can't put – even though he looked pretty good, Geno Smith does not instill any confidence in me.
No.
So if we look now, I'll do my projections for the NFC. Dallas easily wins the East.
Oh,
Packers easily win the North.
By default, yeah.
Buccaneers win the South.
Yes.
I will give the Saints, even though they are so schizophrenic and so up and down, I'll give them a wild card. Then you go out to the West. Rams win it. I think the Cardinals end up being a wild card.
The Cardinals will wild card it.
Seattle's done, like I said, with the Wilson injury. And San Francisco, this is a team that talk about injuries.
You talk about
2 years now. 2 years now. They can't keep anybody healthy.
They can't. It's a solid team, but they all get hurt all the time.
Yeah. So Kittle's out now. Garoppolo might be back, but he's out. Now Trey Lance is hurt. And going back to last, and of course, Mostert got injured in the first game out for the year. Their primary running back. Yeah. This team is so unlucky and so snake bitten in terms of injuries.
They're cursed. This regime is cursed by injuries.
And I am not the biggest Kyle Shanahan fan in the world, but you can't hold this against him. This is one of the times where I will give a guy a 2-year pass.
Oh yeah,
based
you
on
have
injuries.
to because he doesn't have his players there.
Yeah. So then on Sunday, we saw I wish I could have seen this game. The Packers-Bengals overtime game where the Packers won 25-22, where by my count, by everybody's count, 5 game-winning field goals were missed.
Absolutely pathetic. Oh, my God.
I'll give the Bengals credit for hanging in there. Statement game for them. But again, if you can't depend on your kicker in a clutch situation, and the Packers, I don't know why the Packers stick with Mason Crosby. That dude is one of...
he's cost
them. There was about 4 or 5 years ago, I remember, he was terrible. Oh, terrible. He missed like 13 or 14 field goals.
Everybody expected him to have been released and them to have picked up somebody else, but they've stuck by him. I don't know what kind of photos he has of the upper management, but
I agree with that.
There you go.
There's got to be some reason why they're keeping Mason Crosby. Any other team would have cut his ass by now.
Twice over.
But the Packers, again, survive.
And how many ways can the Lions find to lose?
Well, the head coach, Dan Campbell, was crying after the game in the press conference. He was trying to say, I care so much about this team. I care so much about what they're doing. These guys are trying hard. And I agree with him. That's why I picked them to beat the Bears last week. Is because I can see where this team is just a little bit away from gelling and fine. But now
Cephas is out now.
I was just going to say, Cephas, he was really starting to turn into a great story, being their number one receiver.
Best receiver, and now he's done.
Goff has got nobody to throw to.
No, and to have had the lead and seconds left, and I jokingly told my wife, they're gonna find a way to lose it. There's no time left. I'm like, it's the Lions. They have a losing culture. They will find a way to lose this one. And damned if they didn't blow it.
Yep. And I feel bad for Dan Campbell. I feel bad for Jared Goff.
I mean, this
is not of their making. This is just the karma, like you said. This is the curse of the Lions, and they've got to figure out a way to do something to fix it. I don't know if you got to sell the team or what.
I don't know, but man, that was heart-wrenching. It was funny, but it wasn't.
The Browns-Chargers game, I wish we could have got here locally.
Oh my God, that would have been
this back and
that
forth
shootout
nut job game where the Browns at the end actually dragged Austin Eckler into the end zone so they could get the ball back to try to score the winning touchdown.
Yeah.
Ends up being 47-42. The Chargers win.
Crazy.
So much for that great Cleveland defense.
Yeah, they disappeared big time in this game.
But again, the Chargers are winning the games this year that they would have blown, talking about like the Lions, that they would have blown the last 3 or 4 years before with Anthony Lynn.
Right. But it also harkens back. The Chargers have a history as an organization of winning. And it was just a matter of time before they got the players back there. They've got stability now on where they're going to be.
They really are. They're a really balanced team if you look at them. They got their franchise quarterback. They've got their running back. They've got the wide receivers. They've got a solid defense. This is a very dangerous
put together team.
Very dangerous team. Do I think they stack up against the Bills? No. But they could be number 2.
Give them 2 years.
They could be number 2 right now.
Yeah, I was going to say within 2 years, you could see the Chargers really vying for that top slot, winning a Super Bowl.
I hate to say this. If you've listened to Sports Frenzy before, we are not West Coast guys. We're not like Jim Rome sycophants.
No.
But I could honestly see a year or 2 down the road, you could see a Rams-Chargers Super Bowl. Unfortunately, you could. Although the Rams are probably more in win now mode, where, like you said, the Chargers are a year or 2 away.
Yeah. They're a couple pieces from really having
a free agent here, a good draft pick there. Yep. Especially, I'd like to see him shore up the defense and the offensive line a little bit more.
Yeah, they could use a little bit of help there.
And then, of course, as we mentioned, the Bills right now look like they are the hands-down, no-holds-barred front runners. I gave the Chiefs one last shot last week with my pick, and the Bills just blew their doors off in Kansas City.
Yeah. They were not going to be denied.
I don't know if the Bills lose again. I'll tell you that. I'll go out on a limb and say I don't know if they lose again.
They might stumble one more time.
But who's it going to be?
I don't know. It's going to be one of those goofy-ass things that happens.
Yeah, well, God, let's hope it's not like week 17 they rest everybody to get an extra week,
We've talked about it. Resting players is damn near the worst
2
thing
weeks
you
off
can
would
do.
be a disaster because you figure they're going to get the bye week. They're going to be the number 1 seed.
Exactly. You got to at least
Again,
play
everybody
them for
stays
half.
healthy. Josh Allen doesn't get hurt.
You got to keep them playing for a half. You got to keep that continuity going.
Right. But yeah, I don't see anybody beating the Bills right now. I don't.
No, it's going to be very difficult.
I love going back to the Thursday night game before we get to our picks for this week. The double punt that nobody understood the rules on. Fox's rules official didn't. Troy Aikman didn't. Joe Buck didn't. Nobody understood.
What the hell is what?
They're all like, you can't do that. Guess what? You can do that.
It is actually allowed. Crazy as it is, it's one of those arcane rules buried deep in the dust-covered archives.
It was just fun to see them all fall flat on their face and not know that was allowed.
Yeah. And kudos to the officials
for actually knowing
it.
And
And
getting it right. All right. Our NFL Week 6 picks start on Sunday, October the 17th. The London game. Second one in a row. I love this, getting up at 9 in the morning to watch football.
Dusk
I wish
to
it
dawn,
would just,
baby.
It would be nice if there was a good game involved once in a while.
Dawn to dusk football.
It would just
and
be
into
nice
the night.
if you would give us a couple good teams once in a while.
This is a train wreck.
Well, I don't know. Falcons Jets was bad.
This is worse. Dolphins Jaguars.
You have the Jags winning their first game.
I'm taking the Jaguars winning their first game. I have zero confidence in the Dolphins right now. They are just playing brutal on both sides of the ball. There's a shot Tua may come back, but he's not going to be in any shape to do anything at this point.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Will Fuller is back for this game.
Maybe.
Now, can he travel? Is he allowed to? I was very curious about Calvin Ridley not being able to. I'm out for personal reasons.
Meaning he wasn't.
I don't know if that had to do with vaccination status, or some people said there was a marijuana issue in his past. Nobody wanted to broach that subject. Nobody wanted to do a deep dive on that. But Jon Gruden's personal life.
All right, let's get through these, and then we'll hit that one, because I got some issues.
I think we're going to have to carry that over. That's going to start the second segment, because I need to give that.
That needs its proper amount of time.
All right. I have faith in the Dolphins. I have more faith in your team than you do, and here's why. If Will Fuller comes back, if Devontae Parker comes back, now I would actually prefer Brissett as quarterback for this game. I really would. I think you throw Tua into this trying to get his feet wet again. I would just Brissett can gunsling if he needs to. I also think, and this is why I went out and grabbed him in fantasy, even though I dumped him, I drafted him and dumped him and went out and got him again. They might have finally figured out, use Myles Gaskin. Use him.
Really?
It's all I got left on my fantasy team, man.
Really?
I got nothing left.
No.
My running backs are a train wreck. I have to carry two Vikings running backs because I never know which one. Now they're both hurt. They're both hurt now, Dave.
Well, there you go.
All right, Dolphins for me, for Sam, for Nick, Doug, and Aaron. You and Bill are taking the Jags to win their first game.
Yep, it's got to happen at some point.
To break the second longest losing streak in NFL history. Speaking of the Vikings, they are going in to play Carolina. This was a hard pick for me.
It was a little tough.
Sam Darnold is starting to regress, like we all knew he would, but Christian McCaffrey should be back, the China doll.
It's 50-50. God
he was
knows
supposed
what
to
that
be back
means.
last week. I think he'll play this week, and I think that's the difference.
Oh, it depends on which side of the bed he wakes up on.
I'll take the Panthers.
So will I at that point. It's the Vikings. God.
I can't. I mean, they barely beat the Lions, and then you've got Cousins and Zimmer acting like they want to hug each other or beat each other up.
I know. That's dysfunction.
I still to this day can't understand what the hell they were doing there.
I have no idea. It was painful to watch.
I can't trust the Vikings. As talented on offense as they are,
they don't know how to put it together.
Sam will take the Vikings. The rest of us take the Panthers. Chargers at Ravens should be a phenomenal game. Probably, again, we won't get to watch it. You are going with the Chargers along with Aaron.
I'm taking the Chargers. I love the way they're playing right now. Both sides of the ball, like we talked about. The Ravens, they gave up a lot to the Colts,
a mediocre offense.
Colts
I'll agree with you
team,
on that, yeah.
And coming up against one of the top offenses in the AFC, I don't know if I can trust the Ravens, even though they're at home.
Everybody else takes the Ravens, but I agree with you. This is going to be a phenomenal game. Again, this would be one that if I was a rich bastard, I would get direct ticket to see this one. And this one as well, the next one, Cardinals at the Browns. This is going to be significant.
There's a lot riding on this one for both teams.
And again, you and I are oppo on this.
We are.
I think in Cleveland, I think the Cardinals are due for a loss. Kyler Murray the last couple weeks has not looked that good. They don't know what they're doing. The running game is going to be the difference. The Browns have the best running game in football between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
But both of them are dinged up as well.
Yeah, but the Cardinals have got a dinged up Chase Edmonds and
everybody's
James Conner
dinged up right now.
I don't know what they're doing with the wide receivers. I've got DeAndre Hopkins, again, another fantasy draft failure.
Yeah, well, look at me. I've got a running back for each of these teams. I've got Chubb, and then I've got Edmonds.
Yeah.
And Edmonds fully let me down last week. I put him in when I should have frickin' put in Washington's Gibson.
Because Gibson was dinged up, and I understand that completely because all I'd heard was he wasn't going to do much, if anything, if play.
And if I would have, there were 2 moves that I made because of questionable. If I wouldn't, I probably would have been damn close to pulling off a win.
Yep.
Ugh.
So I go Cleveland. I think Cleveland will do enough to win in this game. You take Arizona. Doug is with you. Everybody else takes the Browns. We've got 7 of our 8 picks in from our panelists, as usual. The Cowboys at the Patriots. I thought maybe somebody would bite.
Nobody bites on the Patriots.
No. Boy. Now, let me ask you this, though. Belichick keeps getting a ton of rope, but if he goes 2 bad years without making the playoffs, even with a rookie quarterback Mac Jones looks good. But they spent a crap ton of money on free agents that have not panned out.
It's not paying off.
When does somebody in New England start paying the price for them not getting into the playoffs? As Tom Brady laughs and cackles in the sun in Florida.
Yeah, probably one more year.
I put the Raiders and the Broncos on our slate just because it was before the whole Gruden debacle. I think now everybody's picking the Broncos. Everybody agrees the Raiders are right now probably headed for the dumpster fire.
Yeah, because let's face it, last week, was it the Bears really were that good, or were the Raiders that distracted? Was there no focus from them?
Yeah, and that's what I'm worried about for them for the rest of the year. I could see this just going completely off the rails.
Yeah. I don't know that they were fully distracted against the Bears, but this week it's going to just be mass chaos.
I agree. As mediocre as the Broncos are, doesn't matter if it's Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater and Vic Fangio, they're going to win at home.
Yep.
Seahawks at Steelers. I think, are slowly grinding themselves, as they always do, back into some semblance of mediocrity.
Yeah, but they're going to be better than the Seahawks without Wilson.
Right. But Nick is taking the Seahawks, so he thinks Geno Smith will pull it off. Sorry, bud. I don't agree. And, of course, again, to cap off this slate of mediocre picks here, Bills at Titans on paper at the beginning of the season probably look great right now.
It doesn't look so good.
This looks like a slaughter fest.
Yep. Bills across the board.
Yep. I don't know what to make of the Titans. I really don't. But again, they will stumble. I said this earlier in the segment. They will stumble somehow
into the South
because of one man, Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is the best running back I have seen in 15 to 20 years. Seriously. Yeah. He is the second coming of Earl Campbell.
Yeah, I can see that with this power running, and you can't bring him down.
So with MVP talk, here to wrap up, Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert. What do you think?
There you go.
Sounds about right?
Sounds about right.
All right, kids. The Jon Gruden disaster. The nightmare. We will talk about that to start off the second segment and then give you all of our NCAA picks and our recap from last week. We'll be right back. Now that we've let you into Frenzy Club, here are 3 rules. 1. You don't talk about Sports Frenzy 2.0. You listen to it on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, and all other major podcast hosts. 2. 2 guys to a show. Kev and Dave, the Maestro and the Conquistador. 3. 1 Sports Frenzy episode at a time. Until Saturday, when you get the weekend edition. Now get in there and let loose on some PC wussbags, will ya?
All right, kids, welcome back to segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0 here on October 13th as we tape, dropping on the 14th. I'm the Conquistador Dave Height.
Along with the Maestro, Kevin Crane.
And this segment should be fully NCAA, but we didn't get a chance to talk about the elephant in the NFL room, the Jon Gruden issue. This one, I understand, okay, the racist comments, the homophobic comments in the emails from all decade ago. Now, supposedly, there's more recent things. All of this, yeah, he shouldn't have said it. Come on, how many people have not said anything anywhere close to this? Everyone is guilty. My problem is he has to pay the price for this, losing his job, as is everybody else who's being accused or found out with this. But yet, we'll give second, third, fourth, fifth chances to anybody in sports, celebrities who have done anything with being murderers or accused, domestic violence, drug issues, anything like that, you get a pass on. But not this.
Josh Gordon came to mind. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, 5-time drug abuser.
And he's on the field for the Chiefs last weekend. Nobody is condoning what Jon Gruden put in his emails. Nobody is saying they're right. It was dumb on his part. It was ignorant on it. I am personally hurt because I have been a proponent of Jon Gruden all my life. The guy went to high school with me. I didn't know him personally. He was a couple years ahead of me, but I've always loved Chucky. Of course, he brought the Super Bowl trophy to Tampa, the first one.
Yeah.
Before the GOAT got down there. It's hard for me to reconcile my feelings on this. Again, this is the society we live in, and I hate it with a passion. When I heard the news originally on the Monday Night Football broadcast, the first reaction I had was anger because I thought it was based on the one
from 10 years ago.
The one email with the Michelin lips comment. And I said, if we're going to start forcing people out for this, it's Fahrenheit 451 is what we're heading for. It's Orwell, it's Big Brother. Then, of course, we started to learn there were more emails, more messages. There's misogyny in there. There's homophobic stuff in there. Again, I would like to think there is some semblance of privacy in the world, but in the end, he should have known better than to say these things in an email he was sending to an NFL email address of Bruce Allen.
Yes.
With the Washington football team.
There's professional ethics that were overlooked on both their parts.
But you make unbelievably good points.
Why isn't he suspended? Why isn't he forced to go through sensitivity training?
Well, that was initially what we thought was going to happen, but then this next cavalcade of emails.
But still, time and again, people get away with much worse than this.
Here is a great argument I have heard today. Ever since this whole situation cascaded down and Gruden resigned, and a lot of people say he was smart to just bail on this. He's not gonna starve. His family's not gonna starve. His kid still keeps his job with the Raiders. Look, we didn't talk about this last week. This was on the slate for last week, and we didn't. Did you look at who is doing the halftime show for the Super Bowl this year? Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Dr. Dre. Let's go back and look at some of the lyrics and some of the songs these people have put out.
Good point. Talk about
and
racist.
I'm not taking credit for it. I've heard other people today arguing about this.
But no, you're right. Full-on racist lyrics.
Misogynist.
Yep.
Hypocritical on the NFL's part. I have said this for the last 2 or 3 years. They have been pushing their core audience away. They are so enamored. And I'm sorry, Roger Goodell, maybe Chucky had a point. You're an idiot. I won't use the language he used, but you are an idiot. You keep trying. You listen to your PR people. And you're not the only one. All the networks, all the news affiliates in the world are listening to these 20 and 30-year-old millennials saying, we need to do this the right way. We need to protect everybody, put everybody in bubble wrap. But at the same time, you're okay
with obliterating
nasty,
people's careers.
Cursing, pathetic music on the halftime show at the Super Bowl. You push everybody over 45 out. I'm not watching that crap. Are you watching that crap?
I haven't watched a Super Bowl halftime show in about 5 or 6 years.
This is what I'm saying. This is a steady symptom of what they've been trying to do. They've been pushing away their core audience, the people's, you and me. We have been watching football for 40 years.
And let's face it, that Super Bowl halftime show, more often than not, is a freaking joke, no matter who is performing. Everybody tries to keep going over the top, and it's a rehash of crap.
Can I do better than the one year before?
Yeah.
Then can I do better than the one year before that?
It's become a joke for more than a decade.
And we're going to talk on the weekend edition. Check out the weekend edition hitting Saturday morning. We've got news about the Rolling Stones that's going to tie into this, and news about Superman that is going to tie into what we're talking about here. This is cancel culture. This is ridiculous. This is scary. This is the thing that worries me.
Yes, it is.
Is that you can pick and choose whose life you want to destroy on something like this.
Yeah.
Again, there's a conspiracy involved. We'll wrap this up. We want to give some time to college football, but I want to give Dave time for rebuttal as well. There is a conspiracy out here. And if you heard the quotes coming from the Raiders front office today, where they were asking them, what's your response to all this with Jon Gruden resigning? They basically said, ask the NFL front office. And you want to know why people are starting to question this?
Because now the NFL Players Association wants access to all emails regarding this to find out what's been going on with the hiring process.
Not only that, that is correct. That is the latest conspiracy, is it now they want to use this to push the Rooney Rule even further.
Right.
They are saying that Goodell knew about these emails. Goodell was so mad because of what Gruden said about him
that he released
them just in time before the NFL Players Association voted on extending DeMaurice Smith's contract to garner sympathy for him. And guess what? He just got by the skin of his teeth in the vote right after they released that email about him and his Michelin lips.
Which was in reference to him lying.
And that's another thing that pisses me off. All the media people out there, they're so smart. They're so intelligent. All I saw was Jon Gruden used a racist trope. Have you ever, Dave, used the word trope in your goddamn life?
No, I have
But
not.
now all of a sudden the media is so much smarter, so much more intelligent than us. It's not a racist comment. It's not a racist insult. It's a racist trope. Because we're so smarter than you plebs out there, you common folk. We're going to start dropping words now that you got to look up on Google. You and I are smarter than 99.9% of the people in the world. And I have never used the goddamn word trope in my life.
I've never wanted to use the word trope.
Oh my God, I could go on for hours about this.
Good. NCAA, we have to recap.
Yes.
We've already burned a quarter or a third of our time here.
I know. And of course, the NCAA football scene is a mess because Alabama did finally get beat.
Chaos is reigning.
I still don't have faith.
Neither do I.
I will tell you why.
Because they're going to beat Georgia, and both Georgia and Bama are going to wind up being 1-2 somehow.
If you look at
slide in,
and the whole college football playoff, the BCS poll is garbage. You know, you put these 12 people in a room.
They're idiots and morons.
But even looking at the AP poll right now, Georgia 1, Iowa 2, Cincinnati 3, who I am rooting for.
Go Bearcats.
Oklahoma 4, who I don't even like. They have played such weak football this year. They've been
awful.
Somebody needs to beat them. But you're right. Then you got Bama with 1 loss, Ohio State with 1 loss. Those 2 are lurking, and they can't wait to put those 2 in there.
Oh,
They can't wait.
Where's Oklahoma State?
I think they're 12th. We've got them on the slate. Yeah, they're 12th. Undefeated Oklahoma State is 12th. Penn State, 1 loss, 7th. Michigan then is the next undefeated team at 8.
That's ridiculous.
How is Michigan not 5th? I'm sorry. I know they're gonna shit the bed. They're gonna spit the bit. They're gonna lose at some point because that's what Jim Harbaugh does.
Yeah.
But for right now,
he's gonna rick himself at some point.
They are 6-0. They should be
up there.
But again, this is what they do.
It's all the bull crap that they manipulate arbitrarily.
College football reflects our society.
College football is like politics in Illinois.
Yes.
It's dirty as hell.
Yep. Notre Dame, they can't make up any ground. Even though they won again, they did.
They scraped by.
And that's probably why they're not moving up, is because all their wins have been very close. Yeah, 32-29 over Vatech. I'm mad, though. I'm mad. I didn't need a reason to be mad about Notre Dame. But again, I'm mad.
You're always mad. What's new?
Now they're buying into this whole vaccination. Let's reward the people that don't do the right thing. So now they've gotten together with St. Joe County, and now they're going to give 2 free tickets to either the Navy game or the Georgia Tech game if you get your first shot. Where are my free tickets?
Do you want to know why they're giving them away?
I want my free tickets!
No, do you want to know why they're giving them away? Because they can't sell it out. Well, and if they give them away, they can continue with their sellout streak.
I still want to know, when do you and I get our money? When do we get our free shit? When do we get our football tickets? Because we did the right thing. When do you and I get our stuff?
We didn't hold out.
This is so stupid. This country, we reward people for being assholes and idiots.
Yeah.
And then we denigrate the ones that do the right thing and degrade them, debase them. I'm tired of it.
All right. Back to football and now.
All right, other games to look at last week. The Oklahoma-Texas game was an unbelievable freaking nightmare.
Oklahoma is down.
21 points at one point.
21. They make the change at quarterback.
Yep.
Rattler's not looking good. He was
a front runner for the Heisman to start the year.
Yeah. And what was it? Williams comes in and leads the big comeback. And now Riley's got a big decision to make. Who does he go with? He's not saying anything yet. It would be hard to put Rattler back in.
Yeah, I thought Sarkisian might be the guy who could change the fortunes for the Longhorns. And obviously, that's another team that's just cursed. Right now, they cannot win. Number one, they don't have a defense. They haven't had a defense for years.
Right.
But number two, they just can't win any games like this against a decent team. They can't.
No.
Arkansas and Mississippi.
Arkansas's offense finally shows signs of life coming back, but their defense craps the bed.
Right. Normally, in any other year, we'd all be going, why are you talking about this game? Because these two teams are actually pretty good this year.
Yeah. They're not the crap fest bottom feeders that they usually are.
Yeah, Lane Kiffin's Ole Miss team actually pulled it out 52-51.
God.
So I still have faith in Arkansas. Something about that team. I still think
something
they're going to end up in the top 20, but we're seeing a changing of the guard, I think, a little bit in the SEC.
Slightly.
But
you've got
Kentucky, you've got Arkansas, you got Mississippi playing well.
You've got these teams are junior, senior heavy, which is where it comes down to. They've been there long enough, whereas the big schools have such turnover. You're going to see the more experienced upperclassmen starting to throw their weight around a little bit.
Then we mentioned the big showdown. Iowa, number 3, at home, did barely beat number 4 Penn State 23-20. So Kirk Ferentz somehow has still got that Hawkeyes team rolling. I'm waiting for them.
This is one we took Iowa, but we expected them to crap the bed on it.
I don't have faith in either one of those two.
No.
I really don't.
No, not at all.
BYU, number 10, loses. We thought Boise State had finally kind of petered out, and this was going to be an off year for them, a down year.
No,
they
find a way.
Wiped us all out because we all took BYU. So BYU's dreams of getting into the playoffs are done.
Bye-bye.
And then, like I said, Kentucky keeps rolling, beating up on LSU 42-21. And again, bringing this up, we've talked about this in the past, is Ed Orgeron done at LSU?
I believe he is going to be.
Probably. I don't know how they're going to put up with what they're on pace for 5-6 losses.
Yeah, with everything else going on under his tenure, they can't keep him.
He's going to be one of those coaches that's going to go down as a very interesting, he can bump a team up, make them good for 2 or 3 years, and then everything comes crashing down.
Yeah.
He can't sustain a program, but if you bring him in, he'll get the mojo going for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, picks for this week. Again, just like with the pros, this slate does not impress me. Nothing here that really jumps out in terms of exciting games. Maybe number 12 Oklahoma State at number 25 Texas.
And here we were just blasting Texas for not being able to do anything, not being there, but yet we're taking them over undefeated Oklahoma State. But I think what it comes down to, Oklahoma State this year does not have the high-powered offense that they typically have. And Texas has that offense that can rack up the points. That's the difference in this one for me.
And I agree with that. Plus, I will say that we've talked about the fact that Oklahoma State, this is about the time where they shit the bed. At some point.
This is a big game.
Texas has already lost their big games. They've got it out of their system. Now I can see them just rolling all over Oklahoma State. Because, again, this is what's going to happen with the Big 12, is this is all going to work into Oklahoma's favor. And then the BCS committee is going to sit there
and go,
we should give this to Oklahoma. We should give that over Cincinnati. Yeah, over Iowa. Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
Where's Clemson?
Crap.
Can we, anyway, we can put Clemson in? Anyway? No? Oh, damn.
Yep, that's what you get.
So, yeah, other than that, that's
probably about almost the toughest.
I think that's the only game with a close point spread where you've got two top 25 teams playing each other.
Yeah.
And of course, again, I am constrained by the rules that were put forth this year where I'm not allowed to pick
10-point spread.
So if there are two teams playing, especially Alabama, Georgia seem to be the two, when those two are playing, even though they're playing ranked teams, the point spread's above 10. I am not allowed to put the game on the slate, people. Just keep that in mind. It is not the Maestro's fault.
It is the panel that dictated it.
That being said,
we wanted more of a challenge.
And it's working out this year because all of our percentages are in the freaking crapper.
Yep.
I don't know.
They are way down
I don't
from what
think
we normally
anybody
have.
has hit 60% yet overall. Nope. High right now is 57.1 pro and college combined.
Whereas normally we would be flirting with the 70% mark.
Early on, we should, and then it'll drop.
Yeah.
Normally, at the end of the year, we should be about 63, 64%.
Yeah.
Normally. Average. Yes. You have the record. You have the highest percentage winning rate of all time, Conquistador. So we all bow down to you.
As is right and just.
And that record will never be beaten.
What was
especially now with the new rules.
Yeah.
But we had to go back. Oh, God, how long ago was that? 10 years?
Yeah. What was it?
Yeah, we'd have to go back at least 10 years to find that, if not longer.
Yeah, I don't even remember what the final was. I know it was flirting with 70 all season.
I have to look it up in the archives, but you were close.
It was under 70.
68, somewhere around 68.
Right around there, because it was the great equalizer that did me in, where we pick all
the bowl games. We pick all the bowl games. And that usually does everybody in.
Yeah.
But yes, the Conquistador has the record for the highest pick winning percentage all time in football. And again, I will say it, especially now with our new constraints, that record will never fall.
Never say never. Never say never.
Look at 57% right now. How pathetic is that? We should be ashamed of ourselves. We really should. Straight up, we should be getting at least 60 right now. At least.
Yeah.
And that would still be pathetic. No, you guys had, no gimmies. And no easy games.
And who's the only one complaining about it?
I just think it's fair if you pick Alabama versus a Mississippi or Georgia versus an Arkansas. There's nothing wrong with that when they're both ranked. But no, the point spread's 14. We can't pick that game.
That's right. We wanted the bigger challenge.
So look, now we're picking Iowa State and Kansas State. Great. I have to put that on the slate because that's 6.5.
Yeah, and it's going to wind up probably coming down being a close game.
Yeah, well, guaranteed at least out of the 10 games we got on the college slate, at least 4 are going to fuck us up the ass. At least 4.
There you go.
That's what's been happening every week. Look at last week.
What?
Look at last week.
Then you didn't do
BYU, up the ass. USC, up the ass. It's just ridiculous.
All right. Continuing on. Get the rest of the picks.
Oh, do we really need to? Do I have to talk about Miami? Miami and North Carolina? The Hurricanes in the abysmal season they're having?
And that everybody's taking North Carolina?
Oh, Doug's taking the Hurricanes. He's got more faith in them than I do. And North Carolina has been so bad this year. They were supposed to be a top 10 team, if you remember, at the beginning of the season, preseason polls.
They had them up there, and
Miami was in the top 25.
Yeah, and they've disappeared.
Both of these teams have underperformed beyond belief. Yeah, I hate to say it, but North Carolina is going to whomp Miami. Miami is heading for a disastrous year. We will see what happens with the head coach and the program. Something needs to happen.
Is coming.
Something needs to be fixed. There is something wrong with this program. I find the West Coast game this week, and I do try to pick games from every conference.
Yes, and we appreciate that.
So we got a Pac-12 game here. Very interesting Pac-12 game. Number 18, Arizona State at Utah. Bill is taking Utah. The rest of us are going with Herm.
Yep.
And AZ State. I could see
this going sideways for us, and Bill being the lone victory.
This is right now even.
Yeah.
Vegas line is even right now on this game.
Yeah, this was damn near the flip of a coin.
And this is, again, about the time where Herm will shit the bed. He'll lose a game he's supposed to win.
Yeah, we thought that before, and he pulled one out of his ass.
And that's the way this year has been going. When we figure these teams that normally choke will choke, they don't.
And when we
then we buy into them and have faith in them.
They choke.
All right, so there you go, kids. Check out the weekend edition. We will carry on with our ranting and raving about PC.
If you missed any of the picks, check out the Facebook page.
Yep. Picks will be up a little bit after this episode posts. But we are going to talk about more cancel culture stuff in the weekend edition. Rolling Stones, Superman. Yeah. There is more ranting and raving coming. And of course, in the fourth segment, we will have Dumbass or Not.
Yes, I love that game.
Where your Uncle Dave will decide if I have picked out dumbasses or I'm just being too harsh and critical.
And being a dumbass himself.
Next up, we're going to look at the Major League Baseball playoffs, unfortunately, for the Conquistador.
Turned out as I had expected for the reasons I stated that it would be.
And then we will talk about the NASCAR playoffs, and in segment 4, talk about the start of the hockey season. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. In the fortress of solitary justice, 2 brave men hold the fate of the sports world in their hands, with the utterance of a single word: frenzy! These seemingly ordinary men become the maestro and the conquistador, destined to save the world from stupidity on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, and all noble podcast hosts everywhere. Dave and Kev stand for truth, justice, and the frenzy way. Hey everybody, welcome back to Sports Frenzy 2.0, taping here on the 13th of October. This will hit on the 14th. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And I'm the conquistador, Dave Height. About to go apocalyptic.
Yeah, so what you're going to hear for about the next 5 minutes is a man, not slowly, but quickly losing his mind based on the performance of his favorite baseball team in said baseball playoffs. So without further ado, I hand the mic over to the conquistador, Dave Height.
The White Sox sucked. That's the only way I can describe that performance against the Astros. Outside of Game 3, where they wound up winning 12-6, frickin' A wound up giving up 6 runs there at home. Oh my God. Cease was an absolute disaster. The bullpen had to come in and save his ass. Thankfully, the bats finally woke up. They were completely gone in the other games. Last week, as we were previewing this series getting going, I said, starting pitching, they can't give up the big innings. They did. It said, The relievers have to be there. For the most part, they were. They were pretty solid. Said the bats, they cannot disappear. Said they have to hit with runners in scoring position. They only did that in one game. They could get it when they got on base, they stranded everybody. Again, it was the same crap that I was bitching about the last month of the season. That's what we got.
Now, I didn't watch all the games. I did end up watching the two where Lance McCullers pitched for the Astros, and he is a junk pitcher. I'll tell you that.
It's garbage.
If you lay off of him, he will walk you. And I didn't understand why the White Sox weren't just walking guy after. All he does is throw sliders off the plate.
Yeah, they weren't looking for that one coming down the middle. They were overreaching. And that's what that frustrated the hell out of me watching those games.
Yeah. Now, the thing with the Astros is I will give the Astros credit for this. They have got a lineup, even though they lost George Springer. They still got Altuve. They still got Correa. They have got guys who have been there and done that for years and years and years.
They've got a solid, experienced group.
Brantley.
They know how to hit. They know how to wait for their pitch.
Right.
Despite what Tepera happened to say, accusing them of cheating again back in Houston. And, there were moments where you kind of had to wonder, were they or weren't they? Just in some of the situations with the way some of the pitches they were teeing off on, they shouldn't have really been teeing off on, but they know how to hit. And the better team won, hands down.
It'll be interesting to see if they spend the money in the offseason to keep Correa, because everybody is targeting Carlos Correa. Yeah, I mean, the Yankees already penciling him in at shortstop. Go to hell, New York, by the way.
Oh, they're already talking about keeping Boone, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that.
Stupid.
Because the Padres might want him. Because they've waited too long to try to talk to him about a new contract. So now the Padres want him. Ugh. Why would the Padres want him?
He couldn't do anything with New York. My God, that's stupid. But anyway, getting back, the other part, with La Russa's rant after getting knocked out, I understand why he was pissed about Abreu getting hit again in this series.
Yep.
It's getting ridiculous with Abreu getting hit. 5th most in the league. But just the timing of everything, it's ridiculous. Now, La Russa is the last person to be talking about character or lack thereof for a team or individuals. So I cannot back him on that part. But I fully respect him for going out there, protecting Abreu, and going apeshit when he got hit.
Well, as much as I know you hate him, I mean, it's pretty obvious to me you hate him. I know you don't like the fact they brought him back. He's too old. And you're right. Character issues are in there to be considered.
I will say he definitely took the team on. He embraced them as individuals and what they do. And he's had their back through everything. So I questioned his ability to adapt to the team. And he exceeded my expectations there.
But they didn't get any farther in the playoffs than they did last year.
No, they didn't.
Because I remember we watched, the Oakland series.
Yep.
We watched one of those games together, and it was eerily similar.
Crap.
Eerily similar.
Yeah. And
I would give him more than 1 year. Got to give him more than 1 year to figure out what he's doing.
Yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't die.
No kidding. But no, it was. I hope these guys can learn from this. And I hope the batting coach can learn from watching what Houston did and translate that over.
And so
that was a hitting clinic.
the baseball purists are right now about ready to jump off a ledge because you have got Boston and Houston in the American League Championship Series, the two teams directly connected to all this cheating over the last 6-7 years.
Yep.
And
Amazing,
guess what?
isn't it?
Dusty Baker didn't have anything to do with that.
Nope, not on the Houston side.
Now Cora did.
Cora did when he was with Houston, and now he's in Boston.
They told him go away for a year, come back, and he is a damn good coach.
He is a damn good hell of a manager. I give him props.
To knock off the Rays is almost as easily as they did, although there was that really goofy call that cost Tampa Game 3.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Where the ball hit the wall, hit the player, went over the wall, and they call it a ground rule double when, in my opinion, the winning run should have been allowed to score.
It should have. That's an issue I have on a ground rule double. Is if it's a double in the gap, the runner on first is going to score. Why do they not allow it on a ground rule double? That is the one rule that has always frosted my ass.
Oh, and there were people that were saying, why is it, by the time all that happened, between it hitting the wall, hitting the player, then bouncing over the wall, the guy who hit the ball was already halfway to second. Why doesn't he get third?
Yeah.
Why don't you give him 2 bases based on where he is
at the time?
On the base pass at the time.
Hitting the player is not the same as it bouncing over. Sorry.
Right.
It's not.
Agreed. Completely agreed. So you can say the Rays got screwed there, but in the end, I think, God help me for saying this, the Red Sox were the better team. They deserve to move on, but this is why baseball's wild card situation is really vexing. Let me put it that way, because the Red Sox backed into the playoffs.
Big time.
They did not have any momentum going. They were kind of scuffling along. But yes, they barely got home field over the Yankees for that wild card game. But now all of a sudden they've caught fire. Like we talked about, the manager knows what he's doing.
Right time.
You give him an inch, he's going to take a mile. And now I would think right now, if they can get their pitching lined up, if Sale can actually show up and put together 2 solid starts in this series, they're going to the World Series.
They've got a really legit shot.
But I do like the Astros lineup. But again, you look at the Red Sox, Devers, Bogarts. I mean, they've got a solid lineup too.
Yeah, these are 2 teams that can hit. And it's going to be a fun series to watch.
Now, in the National League, I think this is almost the exact opposite.
What the hell? The Brewers really blew this one like the Rays did.
Well, that's why I'm thinking that tomorrow night, Game 7, or Game 5, sorry.
Game 5, yes, Dodgers-Giants.
That's going to decide the World Series.
Yeah, there's no way. There's no way the Braves are going to beat either of those 2 teams.
No.
They are firing on all cylinders. Milwaukee, we knew they had their issues all season, not being able to hit, and then losing a major part of their bullpen to stupidity.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, the whole celebration and the breaking the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The Braves, you can sit there and go, oh, well, they get to rest now. It doesn't matter. Their rotation isn't such that it's not Scherzer and Kershaw and Buehler. I mean, it's not like the Dodgers where they have multiple people to rotate through, but they want to get Scherzer up at the front.
Right.
The Braves
don't have anybody.
Max Fried? Really? Is anybody scared of Max Fried? Sorry.
No.
Giants or Dodgers, whichever one wins tomorrow night, Game 5, are rolling, I predict.
Yeah. See, now this has brought out what I've heard some debate on seeding. Even with the wild cards. Doesn't matter if you win your division or not. That just gets you invited to the playoffs. that you should be seeded based on record.
So, like, the Dodgers should have been the 2nd seed.
Right. Which would have lined up the Dodgers Giants in the NLCS.
Yeah, this year I could see that because it really should have been the Dodgers Giants with the potential for the pennant.
Right.
They shouldn't have had to fight it out before we even get to the
round.
NLCS. Yeah. I can see that. I can. Because this is the first time ever where a team won as many games as the Dodgers did and did not win their division.
Yeah. So I can see that, but if you do that, then you would almost have to make the wild card round a best of 3.
Which they're going to do. They're going to do that. I think that's on the table. I think, of course, we're looking at, and people have not been talking about it here over the last 4 or 5 months. Baseball's done an unbelievable job of silencing it. There is a lockout coming.
There is, without a doubt. We know it. Baseball is the worst when it comes to labor negotiations.
Right. We will get a universal DH at some point. Once this is all settled, we will get, like you said, a 3-game wild card round.
We do not need to increase the number of teams in the playoffs, though.
I don't know. I don't want to do that. I don't. We've talked about this. It's ruined. You can speak for hockey. I'll speak for basketball.
I hate having half the freaking league making the playoffs. It's ruined
basketball. There is no way. And now they've added more. And we love the play-in tournament.
No, the play-in tournament is stupid.
So now instead of actually going with the logic of people like me who are trying to tell you, if you want to bring me back into the fold, get rid of all these playoff teams. No, we're going to put more in. We don't care about you. We don't care.
We want it's a money grab for TV rights and advertising.
It's ridiculous.
It's killing sports.
All right, moving on to NASCAR. Race 6 of the playoffs is done. And, of course, in our competition...
As is Kevin Harvick.
Yeah, brakes locked up. He goes into the wall. He's done.
Brakes locked up. Yeah, he was watching the rearview mirror, so Chase Elliott wasn't going to hit him and put him in the wall, so he put himself in the wall after he tried to destroy Chase Elliott's chances.
Yeah. And I can't stand the fact that they're sitting there going, well, we're going to talk to them. We're going to try to fix this. Hendrick is saying we need to get rid of this feud. This is good for racing. Stop it. And I love Harvick's response.
You remember Bristol?
When they asked him, is this done? And he just kind of looks at him and walks away. Harvick does not forget.
No.
People.
And,
And the fact that Elliott has made it into the round of 8, he better really look in his rear view.
Yeah. Now, there's a difference between blocking and out wrecking. So that's kind of where I draw the line. Now, if at Bristol, if Elliott would have wrecked him out, I could understand that. This is not an equal retribution.
I'll just be curious to see how these next 4 races go. Especially...
All I can say is I'm glad that I don't have a Harvick or an Elliott to try and pick from in these last 4.
Yeah, me neither. Because these 4 tracks, I could see them running close on all 4 of them.
Yeah.
So the retribution idea you put forth is definitely on the table.
It is there. Both of them I can see multiple times knocking each other through the remainder. Especially if at Texas, if Chase gets knocked out by Harvick, I can see him going full bore in one of the next 3.
So Kyle Larson. I know it's not a surprise, but it seems like a surprise.
It is with what he had to overcome with the mechanical issues.
Right. The alternator belt, which is an extremely hard fix to pull off on pit road.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
yes and no.
If you'd listened to the guys in the booth, you'd have thought he was trying to move a mountain.
replacing the belt is not.
They made it sound like Bowman's
of a
issues were
deal.
easier to deal with because he only had to have the battery switched out.
Replacing the belt should not have been that
because
big of
that
an
was the
issue.
problem. About halfway through the race, half of Hendrick's team
had electrical issues of some sort.
Bowman and Larson were both having electrical issues, so they didn't know if they could continue, what had to be repaired for them to continue.
Yeah.
Both ended up getting fixed. So they both ended up doing okay. Bowman just couldn't make up the points. He was so far back.
Right.
So he's out. Larson ends up winning the race. And again, he's proving to be a very good road course racer.
Yes, he is. Good all around at every track.
So, Harvick out, Bowman out, Byron out, Bell out. 8 left. Pretty much the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Pretty much who you would predict to be your final 8.
Yep. So, and now my plan is starting to come to me.
So you're not upset the fact you couldn't gain any ground on Doug?
I am a
Elliott,
little bit, but
the Elliott pick, I mean,
we all had him.
Yeah, then Blaney ends up almost the exact same in points. So
yeah, so
nobody did anything this week.
No, but it's maintaining and going into the finals.
But you have to get by both Doug and Bill.
Looking at their picks, there's an opportunity that's there.
Kids, if you could see the evil, maniacal look in the conquistador's eyes right now, you would be scared. I am scared. I'm in last place, so it doesn't matter. Byron screwed me at Talladega, but
I've had a plan. I'm sticking with it.
Right.
There we go.
All right. So that being said, we move on. We've got some more NASCAR news, but let's do our picks.
Let's do the picks.
Auto Trader Echo Park 500 Texas Motor Speedway.
We're starting to get some dissension in here.
7 of the 8 picks as opposed to last week where we picked 2 drivers among all of us.
Now,
7 picks are in. 7 picks are in, 7 different drivers.
This is where it gets fun, kids.
That's right. I go Ryan Blaney.
I'm taking Joey Logano.
Sam takes Kurt Busch. The Big Blue W takes Denny Hamlin. Jen still pending. Nick takes, he's going to burn his Larson. Nick is going to burn his Larson. Doug, Kyle Busch, Aaron, Merton, Truex. So this is what we want. This is going to be the race.
This is it right here.
We are going to get some separation.
There's going to be some movement here.
Sam's pick worries me for him because that's the one guy who's not going to be starting in the top 8.
That's right.
Everybody else, all these other picks are in the playoffs. Kurt Busch is not. So Kurt Busch most likely will be in the mid to late teens starting. Yeah. So I don't know how I feel about that pick, but otherwise cannot argue with any of the other ones.
This is where it's going to be fun, kids.
Yep. Going back to Charlotte here for a second. I wonder if this was an overreaction to what happened at Indianapolis, but I don't know if anybody noticed, they took the backstretch chicane rumble strips out. I think they were worried about having a repeat
coming up.
Yep, of what happened in Indy. And Kyle Busch's crew chief, Ben Bashore, suspended for Texas. So that might hurt Doug's pick.
Hurt Doug a little bit. That's okay.
Because of lug nuts. The lug nut penalty comes back and bites Kyle Busch in the ass.
There you go. That's fine for it being this week.
Other NASCAR news, Ty Dillon got a full-time ride with GMS Racing for 2022 in the Cup Series.
Good for him.
Steve Phelps had a press conference here. Couple interesting tidbits to come out of that. The hybrid powertrain looks like it might appear in 2024.
Yeah, whatever.
Supposedly, F1's already got this in place?
They've got an EF, a Formula E series.
Right. Supposedly, this will kick in when they want to pass or accelerate.
Yeah, are we talking extra oomph, or are we talking just an electric?
I think just electric. I think they're talking.
Okay.
They're not. Yeah, they're talking about it will help the rear axle, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, Formula One does have that. I was thinking you were talking about the electric racing. There isn't
No,
There is a
no.
Formula E.
No, this will be a hybrid. I think it's only going to be on the back
Okay.
transaxle.
Where they can use it periodically.
Right.
I hate that whole bullshit. That's a gimmicky crap.
Dave, we're trying to save the environment here.
It's gimmicky crap.
Dave, don't you want the trees to grow
It's
and
gimmicky
the kids
crap.
to frolic in a clean environment where they can breathe pure oxygen without...
There'll be more oxygen to breathe once we drowned all these rich bastards who live on the coasts.
The one last thing here in NASCAR before we wrap up that sounds very intriguing is that Phelps said that they are not done screwing up the schedule.
Of course not.
2023 we will get more changes to the schedule, and he has come out and said they are not afraid to take races away from the NASCAR-owned tracks if they believe it will help the sport.
Good, because there's a few that need to go away or get reduced. Expand into other markets. Get rid of the damn cookie cutters. Mostly away from
which they've been doing. They've been trying to do that. You know, when they got rid of Chicago, that was a big step. Kansas still has 2 races.
Kansas needs to lose one.
Yeah, Kansas needs to lose one.
Kansas needs to lose one. I love Charlotte Oval and then the Roval.
Right.
That's brilliant.
Right.
Get another damn short track in.
Rockingham. You and I.
I want Wilkesboro back.
Wilkesboro, yes. And Rockingham.
I want Rockingham to get a race, and I want North Wilkesboro back on the schedule.
Yeah. Let's go old school. Come on. Sometimes
Wilkesboro had some of the best damn racing. Ugh.
The appeal of NASCAR is to the old fans. I know you want to bring in new fans. Everybody, the NFL, everybody wants to bring in new fans.
But
I'm telling you, NASCAR...
if you go back to your roots to some extent, you will get it. Because you got some of these crap tracks. You really want to go back out to California Speedway? Really? No, sorry.
Nope, I agree. I agree completely. And this is the problem. Look at the Buccaneers. Everybody wants the creamsicle uniforms back. You know, sometimes old school is not bad.
Exactly.
Sometimes you appeal to your old fans.
And you know what? You got enough tracks out there. How about you rotate different ones in and out? Get rid of Sonoma for a year and throw Laguna Seca on. Go back to Riverside.
Yeah.
Let's do something fun. Break it up.
Nobody says, like the Conquistador has wisely put forth, nobody says you have to have the same track. They were talking about that with Indy. We discussed that. Indy now is discussing going road course, oval, road course, oval.
Right.
Why can't you do that with, like you said, switch from this track to that track, back to this track every other year? What's wrong with that?
Do something different. Make it more fun for the fans. There's some tracks we love and some tracks, sorry, Michigan only needs one. Pocono only needs one.
I like that doubleheader weekend, though. I really did with Pocono.
It was fun, but...
you don't have to do it with Pocono, though. That's the thing. Find a really cool track and do a weekend, or switch it year to year.
Switch double weekends.
Bristol,
from tip
a
to
doubleheader
time.
Bristol weekend. A doubleheader Richmond weekend. Even
something
a
like that.
Doubleheader Phoenix weekend. And why is Phoenix now all of a sudden? We got Miami sucked as a championship race.
It was awful.
Phoenix is better, but who says Phoenix should get the race every year to decide everything? That should rotate every year, just like the Super Bowl.
Yeah, mix up the 10 rotate through, and get the damn super speedway out of the final 10.
Absolutely agree. It's too random. It's too chaotic. Don't like it. Don't like it. We should be running NASCAR.
We should.
And well, can we fit that into the schedule because we have
with
to run
everything
the NFL
else
too.
that we run
And
baseball.
Yeah. Well, we'll just flush NBA down the toilet. So,
yeah.
So you'll run NHL.
I'm not horribly opposed to the way NHL is
going.
going.
Look at you sticking up for Gary Bettman. Let's take a break.
Come back.
We'll come back and we'll talk about opening night in the NHL. And then tonight, of course, the Blackhawks
getting ready to
about an hour now from when we tape. Yes. Stay tuned, kids. We'll be right back. She walked into my office just as I was reaching for the bottle in my bottom desk drawer. Legs till Tuesday, lips like pillows. I want to hire you, she said, to find Sports Frenzy 2.0. Doll, I said, that would be the easiest case ever. Sports Frenzy 2.0 is on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, everywhere you listen to podcasts. She nodded to herself, sat down and smiled. I grabbed 2 glasses. Life was good. And so is Sports Frenzy 2.0. Hey everybody, welcome back. We're wrapping up Sports Frenzy 2.0 for October the 13th, 2021. This will hit on the 14th. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height. And we have the NHL season kicking off this week.
Last night, actually.
Yes, last night as we tape, we had a couple of games. The Kraken failed in their first attempt.
Right.
At a regular season
I think the Golden Knights knocked them off. And then I heard bad things about the Lightning, the defending champions. Looked bad last night as they lost.
Looking like they had a little bit of a hangover coming in.
Of course, now this year is big for the NHL. They have got new TV partners. Very excited about it. In terms of, I'm sure they're excited about it for the money. Yeah. ESPN, TNT, now on board.
Oh my God, that's all we heard about over the weekend from the NFL coverage and NCAA football coverage. All the ESPN could do was hype up, oh, we got the NHL back. It's going to be awesome. Yeah, we'll see.
And I expect the Conquistador to fully keep us engaged and informed in terms of what he thinks about the commentators now, what he thinks
when
about
I
the
have
coverage
to watch
now.
On ESPN. I will watch as little as I can.
Well, tonight, the Blackhawks are against the Avs on TNT.
Yeah, I know. I would rather not watch them on any of the national coverages, but there you go. We'll see.
So what are your impressions about your beloved Blackhawks for this year, this season?
I like the way the team has been put together. They bolstered the defense, which was much needed. Their captain, heart and soul, Jonathan Toews, is back. So we'll see how that goes. There's no excuses for Colleton this year, their head coach.
And now everything's back to normal in terms of the playoff setup, right?
As far as I know, yes.
They're not doing the North.
They're not doing the Canada. I don't think they're doing the goofy ass stuff this year. I haven't heard anything about that. But with the Hawks, you all know, if you've listened to me at all, not a big Stan Bowman fan, but he's done all right putting a team together. Went out, like I said, really bolstered the defense. Jeremy Colleton has no excuses this year for not making the playoffs. He's got the offensive firepower. He's got the defense to be able to stop. Goalie might still be a little bit of a question mark, but Marc-Andre Fleury, come on. Got one of the top goalies in history there. It all comes down to Colleton. His defensive His defense is awful. The way he sets everything up, I hate it. It's mass chaos back there. His power plays are abysmal. It's pass, pass, pass. They won't shoot the puck. They won't put anybody in front of the net. He needs to learn to pull his head out of his ass and adjust and play the game the way that his skill players know how. And he's handcuffed them with his coverages. I don't like it. We'll see if they can overcome it.
Okay, the one thing of what you said in my hockey ignorance that I think I know, Fleury was the one who they traded for who didn't know for sure if he wanted to play.
Correct.
So, but he's also on the back end of his career. So isn't Fleury a 1 or 2 year fix? They've got to have a younger goalie.
They're going to have to find somebody.
Okay.
They've got a few possible younger guys there. And if they sit behind him, they can learn a hell of a lot. So this is a good move from a developmental standpoint going forward.
Okay. So we'll see how this works out for the Blackhawks. Of course, every week now, we will give you your Blackhawks update with the conquistador, Dave Height.
Yep. And we alluded to
and
in the last...
little retarded hockey buddy,
yeah,
the maestro. Yes, I used a PC incorrect term. Bite me. Deal with it.
Exactly. We alluded to us running different leagues, and then I wasn't that upset with how Bettman runs the NHL. Just announced the NHL only has 4 unvaccinated players at the start of the season.
Oh, what a segue, my man. What a segue as we move on
like that?
To the NBA. And Kyrie Irving. Oh, God.
Kudos.
Unbelievable.
Kudos to the Nets.
Do you know the full story? Do not give kudos until you know the full story.
Well, at least they had the balls to say he's sitting and not being paid.
Incorrect.
Oh, so that I was informed incorrectly.
It's not your fault. This has been a very
confusing
clusterfuck of a situation. Now, number one, earlier in the week, right after we finished taping last week, when they were still practicing getting ready for the season, of course, New York bent the rules for the Nets and decided to say that he could practice with the team because their training center was considered an office facility and not a public gym. Okay.
That's a cop-out.
Okay. But now they have said steadfastly they're sticking by the rules. New York is. As you said, the Nets came out and said Kyrie Irving cannot play with this team part-time. He's not, they won't say it, but he's not vaccinated. Basically, Sean Marks, the GM, came out and said, what do you think, when he was asked the question, is Kyrie vaccinated? He just said, what do you think based on the answers we're giving you?
Yeah.
Here's the problem. Here's the rub. It would be perfect. It would be sweet. It would be apropos if he was told, go home, we're done, you don't get paid. The NBA Players Association basically told the Nets, no grievance filed yet. The Nets kind of basically headed this off at the pass. The NBA Players Association said, that's fine. You don't have to pay him for home games. But if you're going to come out and say he is not welcome at all, but he's willing to play road games, you have to pay him for the road games. So he's going to get half his salary to sit at home and do nothing until this whole issue is resolved. So he's basically getting $18, $19 million a year to do nothing.
For being an asshole.
And everybody's applauding him. Everybody's saying, well, he's sticking up for the common man, the common person, because he's trying to tell everybody it's not right and it's not fair to force people to get vaccinated.
Bullshit. I call bullshit.
Well, I'll tell you what's more bullshit is I heard people in New York sports radio saying that people would call in and say, then tell Kyrie to give some of that $18, $19 million to the people who are actually losing their jobs. And no, you don't understand how much Kyrie does. You don't understand how charitable he is behind the scenes.
No, bullshit.
Bullshit!
Put up or shut up. And our favorite...
He doesn't need that money. If he's going to play this game, he doesn't need that money.
Exactly.
Give it to the people who are actually losing their jobs.
You're supposedly sticking up for.
He's a piece of garbage. He's a piece of garbage. If it wasn't for the fact I wanted to devote more time to him than we would have in the dumbass segment here coming up, I would have put him in the dumbass again, and him and Naomi Osaka would be in a battle royal for dumbass of the year because I'm sick of this asshole. Sick of it. And people are buying into this shit with him.
Your favorite ESPN talking head, Stephen A. Smith, blasted Kyrie for his lack of getting vaccinated and calling bull on his reasons for it. He agrees with us.
Nobody likes mandates. Nobody likes it. But again, when you were a kid, did you not get shots for measles, mumps, rubella?
There are things you do for the common good. Stop being an asshat.
This is what I don't understand. So now anybody who got those shots in the past can sue the government for forcing them to get vaccinations against their will? Does this not open a whole can of worms?
It does. It's absolutely stupid, the thought process on all of this.
And we talked about this in a past episode here recently, where his conspiracies about, they're tracking me, they want to track me.
Cell phone!
He's one of these nut jobs who thinks that they're trying to control him and find out what he's doing every minute of every second.
Yeah, all you have to do is follow your stupid-ass Twitter feed.
No, what he's doing, he's holding out like we talked about with the Notre Dame crap in the college football segment, is he's holding out for a bigger... He thinks they're going to give millions of dollars to people, finally, who haven't been vaccinated.
Yeah, no, not going to happen. If you want millions of dollars to the people who haven't been vaccinated, fork over your salary, buddy.
I'm telling you, and I don't care what people think out there, what he's doing, what he has done over the last 2 to 3 years, you go back to Boston, where he was in the forefront of screaming, oh, Boston's racist. All these idiots in Boston are racist. He is 10 times more evil than anything Jon Gruden could have done. Jon Gruden said terrible things. Jon Gruden emailed terrible things to Bruce Allen. But in the end, as you pointed out, and I agree with you 110%, we are all guilty. We have all said or thought terrible, awful things. And don't tell me you haven't, because if you tell me that you haven't, you're a liar. Goddamn liar. And you should burn in hell for it. We've all thought terrible things. We've said terrible things. And this cancel culture mentality has gone too far, but we let people like Kyrie Irving slide. And some people, like I said, put him on a pedestal. Oh, he's defending us because he's saying that, we should be able to have a choice. Yeah, we should be able to have a choice. But in this case, it is a common sense issue of protecting the well-being of the health of the entire population of the world. Somehow I think that might override Kyrie Irving's petty little problems with the whole vaccination issue.
All right, moving on.
Boxing. A few times in Sports Frenzy, we will talk about boxing. Fury Wilder 3 was this past weekend. Tyson Fury knocked out TKO Deontay Wilder in the 11th round. By all accounts, fantastic fight. A classic. Again, you're not getting me to pay for it.
No.
Give it to me for free, I'll watch it.
Right, exactly. Like you used to be able to get things.
Will this fight in some way, shape, or form bring back boxing? Probably
not.
Because again, the greed overrules everything.
Yep. Because you're going to have the idiots like the Paul brothers wanting to box and take on whatever has been retired fighter. And it's going to be a stupid hug it out exhibition where they're going to survive when they should actually get their asses handed to them.
You're not going to like this comparison, but deal with it. I heard somebody on the radio say this, and I thought it was a very apt comparison. Pro wrestling. I can pay right now $5 a month for Peacock Premium and watch any WWE pay-per-view. I get 3 hours a month of entertainment. We're not saying it's the same level of athleticism. We're not saying it's not
but it's a
rigged.
pay-per-view event of equal monetary proportion.
And I'm getting 3 hours. And this guy was saying, if I paid, $80, whatever it was, for the Fury Wilder fight, I would have had to suffer through how many worthless, meaningless undercard fights to get to the one fight that mattered.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're watching a pay-per-view, an AEW or a WWE pay-per-view, at least all the fights are somewhat relevant. Again, they're not real, they're fake. We all get that. But his point was well taken.
That's valid because the pay-per-views, they used to have the big money fight, but then they tried to throw in decent undercard bouts as well.
Right.
Now they don't even care.
Right. No, they just want to suck you in for that one big fight. Because we don't know. Nobody knows who these fighters are because they don't promote them well enough. It's all fractured. It's been fractured for decades.
Yeah. You don't have your Friday night fights. You don't have your Saturday HBO Showtime specials. You don't have Saturday afternoon ABC Wide World of Sports boxing that you used to get. You don't know who anybody is anymore.
No. And I feel the same way about UFC. And UFC, I know, rakes in tons of money because they do this every month or every 2 months. You know, it has no appeal to me. Again, I barely know the fighters. And right now, the only reason I know some of the fighters is because they cross over back and forth between wrestling.
There you go. Does that tell you anything?
All right. It is time for America's favorite game show.
Dumbass or not.
I have 4 sports dumbasses for the Conquistador. I think they are dumbasses. The question I pose to David is, does he think they're dumbasses or not? Usually we're simpatico. There's been
occasions where we disagree.
I don't know. I think I'm gonna go 4 for 4 on this. Let's start off easy. Softball for you. A little bit of a
slow pitch.
Yeah. Jim Cott. Baseball Hall of Famer. Well, not Hall of Famer. Borderline Hall of Famer. Baseball great. Baseball commentator. Was it game 1 of the White Sox and the Astros? Where he said he was trying to praise Jan Makata.
Yeah, he and Buck Showalter got into the debate.
Right. And Jim Cott said he would like a 40-acre field full of players like Jan Makata.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is a blatant slavery reference.
That's a racist trope.
Don't use that word! That word is forbidden on Sports Frenzy! We are not using that word.
Now, why has this not been brought to the forefront in the media, a la Jon Gruden's decade-old emails?
I think that's a fantastic point. I think that is a fantastic point. To me, this is
Why?
just as bad, if not worse.
Right. Because you're referencing
This is not a
so
slip
many
of the
things.
tongue.
No.
This is something that was on his mind
as he was saying it.
I don't have anything ever where I would think about referencing 40-acre fields full of these people.
Yeah, 40 acres.
That thought has never entered into my mind.
That's referencing the post-Civil War reparations to former slaves getting 40 acres of property to farm. And now it's just bad on many levels. And not only is he a dumbass for saying it, I'm calling out all the media members for being dumbasses for ignoring this while harping on all the old stuff from Gruden.
Well done. Well said, well done. So I'm assuming I'm 1 for 1.
You're 1 for 1.
All right. Let's go to one of my favorite targets. Greg Popovich. One of the most overrated head coaches in the NBA. I used to think he was a good guy. I used to think he was a good head coach. And then I realized, no, that was just because of Tim Duncan. The minute he lost Tim Duncan, of course, this past Monday was what us kids who grew up in the 70s and the 80s used to call Columbus Day, which is now Indigenous Peoples Day. And of course, Greg Popovich has to get his 2 cents in because he can't keep his goddamn yap shut for nothing because he's a liberal, namby-pamby asshat.
He's a crusty old white guy who's trying to stay relevant.
He says celebrating Columbus is equivalent to celebrating Hitler.
Oh, sweet God almighty.
Dumbass or not?
Dumbass. That's just completely a stupid statement all around.
My question is, what is it with people who want to... I don't understand the hatred for Jews. I don't understand it.
I don't either.
This, to me, is hatred of Jews. To try to equivocate Columbus and what he may or may not have done. Again, going back centuries and centuries, sometimes history gets a little hazy. I'm not excusing what happened. I don't know what he did to the indigenous people of the country. But we know what Hitler did.
Exactly.
That happened less than 100 years ago. Yet people want to deny it. People want to act like it was no big deal. It was an atrocity. It was the worst goddamn atrocity of the last 200 years. Yet people act like, well, we're overblowing that. That really didn't happen as bad as we thought.
No, it did. And
what is it with people like him that would say something like that?
Because he just wants to get the headlines. He wants to try and be relevant.
If I was a Jewish person, that would tear my heart out to hear somebody say that. But again, people say this over and over and over again.
It's stupid.
I don't understand the anti-Semitism in this country. I don't understand it.
I don't either.
That's something I've never understood. We wail and bitch and piss and moan and cry, like you said, about Jon Gruden's emails, about DeMaurice Smith's lips. But people like this, like Popovich, who basically talk about the Holocaust like, it's not that big of a deal, or we've got to compare it to other atrocities. The Holocaust was the worst goddamn thing any human did to any other human in the last 150 to 200 years. Enough said, done.
End of discussion.
Going back to the Civil War. No debate, no goddamn argument. And this is the kind of stuff where I really wish I would be able to meet that guy and punch him in the goddamn face. Because Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr are the 2 biggest asshats in the NBA. They think they're so smart and so much more aloof and better than all the rest of us. They know more because their parents were teachers or their parents were professors.
Yeah, they were dope smoking hippies.
Oh, my God.
All right.
So I'm 2 for 2?
2 for 2.
All right. Remember Terrell Pryor?
Mr. Cell Phone?
Failed quarterback turned into marginally successful wide receiver. Remember him?
Yeah.
He got arrested on an assault charge. Again.
No. Not another one.
I don't understand guys when they do this stuff. At some point, let it go. She doesn't want to talk to you. She doesn't want to be with you. 50 calls to the woman. 30 text messages, no response. So he ends up going over there, assaults her. Here's the best part.
He was released on his own recognizance?
No. He couldn't take the hint from the 50 calls that weren't answered. He couldn't take the hint from the 30 text messages that weren't responded to. So he gets over there. He hits her. There was physical abuse involved.
Then why isn't he...
He threw pumpkins at her car. He threw pumpkins at her car. And this is a dumbass to me on multiple levels.
Oh my God. And this is, he's going to get away with this. With probably a slap on the wrist, might get a restraining order, but yet Jon Gruden loses his job.
You know, and I think that should be our new catchphrase when we talk about these people. But Jon Gruden loses his job. Every time we deal with idiots like this, we should
who get away with it and nothing happens to them.
Right. To show off the hypocrisy of this stupid society that we're living in. But I did find the throwing pumpkins at the car very funny. But again,
it's amusing,
stupid beyond belief.
But dumbass.
3 for 3. 3 for 3. Last one. I think I'm 4 for 4. I can't see how you would say this is not a dumbass move. Andy Murray. World-ranked tennis player.
Yeah.
Played in a tournament recently. He didn't like the fact that his shoes smelled so bad because he'd been playing tennis all day, right?
Okay.
He did not want to keep them in the room with him, his hotel room.
Okay.
Because they were stinking the place up. So he took them out and put them underneath his car. Here's the problem. He has a habit of tying his wedding ring onto the shoelace because he doesn't like playing tennis with the ring on, which I completely understand.
Okay, but why would you tie the ring onto your shoelace during the game? Why would you not leave it locked in your locker?
He ties the ring to the shoelaces on his shoes when he's done. I'm sure he probably puts it in his locker during the match.
But that's still stupid because when he's done with the match, you put it back on. You don't tie it to your dumbass shoe.
No, he put the smelly shoes underneath the car because he didn't want them stinking up his hotel room. Of course, forgot that he had tied his wedding ring to the shoelaces on the shoes and goes out. Somebody has taken the shoes.
Dumbass.
Luckily for him, somebody turned them back in. He got his wedding ring back.
That's a dumbass move on so many levels.
4 for 4! We don't really keep score.
No.
You know, we just do this for fun. It's not like I'm trying to stump Dave. I actually am upset and depressed if I pick one that he doesn't think is a dumbass. Then I feel bad. I should go
we strive
4
for
4, 3 for 3 every week.
I try to find a reason.
And I think only once or twice you've told me I was wrong. But this week it was too easy.
It was too easy.
Too easy this week. All right, kids. Thank you very much for hanging out with us this week. Check out the weekend edition. We are going to continue our rants about the idiocy of political correctness with the Rolling Stones and their canceling of brown sugar. And we will talk about Superman's son now being bisexual
Do we have to?
Yes, because we need to tie this all in with Gruden and how this society we live in is out of control and out of their minds. You kids need to remember, this is where you come for sanity. This is where you come to hear logical, sane people talk about how to fix what's going wrong in the world of sports. And on the weekend edition, how to fix what's going wrong in Hollywood. He's the conquistador, Dave Height.
He's the maestro, Kevin Crane.
We love you. Check us out next week.
Leave a comment, rate us.
Facebook.
Let us know what you think.
Yes. Don't forget the weekend edition. We love you. We'll talk to you next week. Take it easy, kids.